Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss one of the most interesting and genuinely surprising things to come out of the Tory Party conference, which is still ongoing. It could be beaten yet, but I'm not sure it will be. And that is that one of the most eagerly supported events at the conference, if not the most eagerly supported one, was of former Tory ministers, Michael Heseltine and David Gauke, absolutely tearing Brexit a new one. Reversing Brexit is going well, despite what some may think. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So actually, before I get into it properly, it might be a good moment to remind people that the postponed Rejoin March will be on the 22nd of this month in London. I will be hauling my arse down there to speak for a few minutes, along with others. I'll put a link to the website in the description below. If I forget, poke me in the comments. So, I have to be honest, and I have to say that I am relatively relaxed about Brexit these days. Some focus on the fact that Labour are going on about making Brexit work, but their detailed policies are still those of reversal. The mainstream media are still getting away with defending Brexit, but they're also quite neurotic about it. Ask yourselves why the Brexit media get into such a frenzy about the threats posed to Brexit. If Brexit was done and under control, they'd have no need to make such a big deal about this or that being a threat to the holy Brexit, would they? They won. We left the EU under almost the hardest circumstances possible, and yet they're still deeply worried about it all being reversed. And well, they might. They talk about will of the people, but they know that Brexit was never the will of the people. They are not reporting misinformation to their readers and viewers because they're wrong or mistaken. They know they're deliberately conning people. It's deliberate. They're conning people into believing that the majority still defend Brexit. And why? Because people are sheeple. We're pack animals. We're naturally conditioned to conform. Yes, every now and then we stand out and take the lead. Someone has to. But by and large, we are genetically programmed to basically be one of the pack. So the media try and persuade us that the pack are in favour of Brexit. So if we don't want to stand out, well, we should be too. The Japanese have a saying, don't they? It's the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. They probably say it in Japanese, mind you. But if people started to think that other people thought Brexit was a terrible idea, what then? Or if they realise that actually a lot of people would like to go back. Are there really ordinary people that are so fervently committed to Brexit that they don't want to go back? I find that hard to believe. And this is the only thing that can actually reverse Brexit's people. They're not really worried about Labour reversing Brexit. They know there are only two kinds of Labour Party. There's the one that acts out of ideology and the one that pays attention to voters. The ideological Labour always loses elections. It's only the one that pays attention to key voters and aligns with them that ever forms a government. So as long as those key voters never got on board with wanting to reverse Brexit, Labour are no threat to them. This is why Labour are reversing elements of the very hard Brexit, but also sounding cool on the idea of freedom of movement, which I still think is a bit mad, as well as a single market. It's because people don't like Brexit. They don't like Brexit, but at the same time, they're a bit afraid of talk of reversing it because that sounds like more years of division and anguish. So what they want is for it to be reversed, but no real fuss to be made of it. But I have thoughts about the single market thing as well, but that's probably another video. Needless to say, there is a way to get single market access without calling it a return to the single market. But anyway, the threat to Brexit is always from people, voters, key swing voters specifically. And the reason why these voters matter is not just for getting Labour behind the idea, but the Conservatives as well. So people need to understand, I've said this before, we cannot actually rejoin the EU or even the single market really, although that's less of a serious issue, without Tory support. Now that's because such a move would take a long time to negotiate, and the threat of a future election bringing the Conservatives back to power and then cancelling the whole show, that is too much hassle for the EU. They can't be arsed with it. They've said as much. But the Tories are dead set against the EU. Are they? I don't think so. I didn't think so the last time I talked about this. I'm quite sure of it now. Look at this, right? This is a photo of the main hall at the Tory Party conference yesterday. Quite a lot of empty seats there as some senior Tory talks to the party faithful. Is there something else going on? Yes. At the same time, there was a fringe event fronted by Michael Heseltine and David Gauke, both former Conservative ministers. They were talking about the damage that Brexit was doing and the importance of returning. It was packed. It's not just that it was full. There were people queuing up to get in that couldn't get in. The seats were all taken. The standing room only was all taken. And still there were people trying to get in. But there's a better contrast with this than just the main hall at the same time. I can't make out who was speaking. Maybe they were crap. This is another fringe event. This one was to talk about Brexit benefits. Well, there's plenty of seats available at this talk. No need for standing there, is there? Certainly no queues out the door and down the corridor. Let me remind you that this was the same day. So it was the same conference delegates there. And it was the same day of the Conservative Party conference. This is not the Lib Dem Party conference or the Greens or Labour or the SNP. This is the Conservative Party conference, the party of Brexit. Oh, really? These were Conservative Party members. Some journalists, of course, but mostly these were Tory Party members. This is the conference. So it's the most committed Tory Party members, the ones who will go to the trouble and expense to listen to people talking about their party in relation to key political issues. Anyone who thinks the Conservatives are pro-Brexit is just being distracted by the fact the ERG have taken over leadership of the party. Everyone else went along with the charade for the sake of keeping the party together. But let me explain what I think is going to happen. Brexit and the ERG are toxic. They're toxic to the Tories. The party is falling out of favour badly with the public. This is because the aims of the ERG was not to leave the EU. That was just a step to their real aims. It's the complete breakup of the country and for it all to be portioned off to various corporate interests. The real Conservatives stood back in an ill-judged attempt to keep their party together and in power. It's not working. When they lose power, it may not be immediate, but there will have to be a struggle. Once those Conservatives realise that the ERG are locking their party out of power, that reason for standing aside evaporates. They will have to take it back, and they'll have the numbers. What they lack right now is the backbone because they fear it's going to cost them the next election. When they are sure it's going to cost them that election anyway, which might be before or after that election, they will act. You know, it may not be immediate, as I say. If they're going to be in opposition until the job's done anyway, the opposition will be a strong motivator to get on with the job. It may be they have to lose 2 elections before they realise this. I don't know. It might be sooner. But it has to happen. Yes, there are plenty of Conservatives who don't like the EU and wish it didn't exist. But it does exist, and given that, they'd much rather be in it than out of it. They understand the political power it has, and they all too well understand the economic benefits. This is the reason we joined in the first place. It'll not be a quick process. I know that means we have to endure more damage than should be the case, but there's no quick route back. We're focusing on political parties when we should focus on people, voters. Political parties who want to win power align with key voters. Obviously, the process of reversing Brexit becomes easier and quicker if we had proportional representation, because then a general support for reversing Brexit would be enough. As it is, we're waiting for a particular minority, and a small minority at that, of voters to change their views. But those views are changing. The latest polling shows another percentage increase for joining the EU. And a poll like this is much better than some people throw out polls about, do you think Brexit's going well? Those aren't actually all that informative, because you can have committed Brexiteers who will say it's not going well, but they still want to be outside of it. You can have people who didn't want to leave in the first place, but also think it'll be too damaging to return. This one's quite clear. This is, do you actually want to join? Do you want to join the EU? Quite a lot saying, yeah, it's going up. It's still not over half, but it is going up. And it's another percentage decrease for staying out. Again, nowhere near enough yet. But this is the picture emerging. It's one of increasing support for joining, specifically for joining. And consider that this is without any great media support for even an open debate, let alone the concept of rejoining. You don't see that discussed in the mainstream media. This is just people independently adjusting their views. Nothing to do with the pack, independently. As it gets larger, people will naturally end up with discussions with more people of this view. There comes a point where the pack starts to look like one that wants to rejoin. I know there are more wanting to now than stay out, but that's not the perception. because a lot of people's perception of the pack is dictated by the mainstream media. It's the perception that needs to change. But people are sheeple. And this is also at a time when the government got to blame COVID and then Russia for Brexit problems. As more times passes, it becomes harder to blame other factors. There comes a point where most people will just realise that all they're getting is excuses. There's the benefits. Oh, we've got another excuse. Thank you very much. Oh, you've gift wrapped the excuse this time. Great. Where's my benefits? Oh, it's in the post. All right. Seems to be taking a while. What are the Brexit benefits? How has it improved anyone's life? There is a majority support for the EU within the Labour membership and wider voting base. This is an eye-opener for me from the Tory Conference, because I always sort of believed there was general support, but this suggests there's real interest for serious debate within the Conservative Party membership, who don't seem as interested in listening to ethereal benefits that Patrick Minford seems to come up with that no one can physically see. The economic benefits of aligning with Europe are enormous. The next Labour government will be reversing quite a lot of the divergence. It will produce economic benefits fairly quickly. People so far have seen the harm of leaving, albeit muddied with the harm from COVID and Putin. Imagine what happens when they then see the contrast with lowering some Brexit trade barriers. So it's like, so we're experiencing harms now, and we're saying it's down to Brexit as well as other things, and people are going, oh, it's not Brexit at all, it's just the other things. So when we lower those trade barriers and we start to see benefits, well, the other things are still going on. But now the difference has been Brexit. We've reversed bits of Brexit and we've got benefits. People will start to see the picture then. I seriously wouldn't stress on Brexit. Unless I were a Brexiteer, then I might be stressed. There's a reason the Brexit media get stressed about it. Sure, they won, but they know they're going to struggle to hold on to that win. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships, and until next time, I'll see you later.